Hello everyone, here is my second ride on Rowan. We did have a few issues filming because we did have a second horse. Miranda's horse was also in the arena, so she was holding on to her horse Jameson while she was videoing, so the video might be a little shaky. Just forgive her, she was doing her best with the extra horse. So my goal for this ride was simply to just walk. All I wanted to do was walk, and I wanted to work on being on the far side of that arena that he was still having issues with. We had a lot better ride this ride rather than our last ride, but that is to be expected. You always grow from your previous experiences. So he's walking along really nicely, wasn't giving me too much trouble. I think part of that might be because we did change that from where the bit was, we changed the rein to be on the actual ring instead of on the part that had the leverage, which he seemed to like a lot better. So I will keep that in mind for the future. We will not use leverage on him, at least until he's ready. He walked along really nicely for the first little bit and did still get a little uppity when we got to that far side of the arena, but he handled himself a lot better than he did in our last ride. We had made it around the first couple times without too much of a problem. I did want to start him immediately going on the right rather than going on the left. And this was the first time we had walked over a pole together, so I was very proud of him for not having any issues with that. Some horses are funny about poles if they've never done them, and that just helps me see that maybe we can actually be a jumping horse. So I'm continuing with my positive reinforcement every time he's doing something good. A little pet, trying to keep my upper body a little higher rather than leaning over him. You can see he's much more relaxed today. A longer rein. He's stretching out a little bit. I do have to tighten up my reins here and there as he gets a little up in this far side. As you can see, he's telling me right now, hey, I'm not going to go in that direction. I do not want to. And so his way of telling me that was, I'm going to sidestep and see if I can turn myself around. I just kept that inside rein, that right rein, as the pressure and just made it not an option to turn around and go in the other direction. And just kept asking him to go forward very, very lightly, very calmly. You can see he's decided I am not going. I'm just looking in the direction I want to go and really trying to ask him to open back up with his head because he is trying to block the rein out. You see, he puts a little fit into there, but then begins to walk on the rail nicely after that. I do ask for a couple stops here and there and reward him when he stands nicely. Again, standing very, very, very square, and I do appreciate that. Not that that's something that I was looking for. It does help him be more balanced, and therefore giving us both a good break. Lots of praise because he was being much better than he was the day before. Gives me high hopes for what this horse is going to be able to do in the future. It was also a very, very slick arena that day because it had been raining all night. So we were trying to be as careful as possible to try to avoid some of the slick spots because I didn't want it to become dangerous if he slipped or tripped and then panicked about it. You see here he's giving me a fight again, and I'm just very calmly asking him to stop and then asking him that we need to go back on the rail. He tells me no. I say it's not an option. And eventually we do get a little bit of forward movement. He tells me he doesn't want to do it. I don't make it an option. You go in the direction I ask. And he decided backing up was the right option for him. And I said that wasn't the option that you could take. We had a discussion as to what maybe was bothering him in that side of the arena. We don't really know what it was. We had suggested maybe it was the fencing from their paddock that was spooking him. But in this corner over here, if you can see that, there's American flags that are all torn up and flopping in the wind on top of those posts, and he pays them no mind. So clearly, I don't see that being an option. I think he just does not like tracking on that side of the arena. Another theory I have is that this side of the arena is much more flat and straight, and the other side of the arena is more curved. So maybe he doesn't like going on that curve, because as long as it is small turns like this, he doesn't seem to mind. And he's fine on the other side of the arena where it is straight. But that side of the arena that he does not like is completely curved. So maybe that's it. We really don't know what his problem is. I'm just doing my best to try to keep him straight and forward rather than stopping. He's not happy about it. I don't fight him at all when he does this. I just do my best to point him in the right direction. And I do reward him when I do see that he is doing well. Lots of praise when I have the chance. Because he responds very, very well to praise of just petting and telling him he's a good boy. So at this point, I felt confident enough that we could switch to the other direction, because we'd had at least a good lap walking in his off direction. So now we're going to start tracking left, which would be his good direction. And if you notice, he doesn't seem to have any issues tracking to the left at this end of the arena. So we really don't know why that end of the arena tracking to the right is a problem. But see, no issues, nice and calm. Could care less. He's checking things out. I let him. I'm not super picky about that, especially at the walk. And no problems. So we're at a loss. So I decided to change tactics here a little bit and see if we could problem solve or just work through. I decided to cut down right through the middle of the arena with the plans to go right at the end, to see if maybe we could trick him into realizing that it's not a big deal down here. So I walk as far as he'll let me all the way down towards that gate, and then turn him to the right, and see we don't really have any issues. He gets a little up, but nothing crazy. So I take that as a win, and we move on to the next trickery that I have for him. So here he starts to get a little up, and I tell him no. And here I've decided to cut back towards the middle. My goal is to go around this blue barrel down here and then head right back to where we were. And you can see he licks and chews the majority of the time when we've hit a softer spot. He's like, all right, that made sense. So I come back onto the rail, still tracking to the right. And then my plan is to head right back towards that barrel. We go around the barrel again, really looking where I want him to go. He is turning incredibly nice. And right back to the rail, tracking to the right. He's leaning against me, leaning to the left, but I don't really mind at the moment. He's not blocking out my rein. And so we just go back around that barrel. And we track out a little bit more to the left this time to try to walk more of that end. And then we turn to the right to get back on the rail, still tracking right. He is still leaning his head over to the left. We will eventually work on softening, but we are mostly concerned with getting him over the fearfulness of that end or just whatever is going on in his head. We're just trying to work through it. So back around the barrel we go. Again, being very careful because it is super slick. You can see him sliding a little bit. We're trying not to tear up their arena too very much. Which is another reason we did no trotting today. And see, he's done very, very well. So we're going to go back and do it one more time. You see how slick it was? We weren't even going that fast. It's very slick over there. But where there's grass, it's not very slick. So we weren't super concerned. We were just doing our best to stay off of it. But I was using the barrel as a tool because he was giving me problems. Now he's walking much nicer and listening to my aids a lot better than he was, and I felt happy with where we were at. And so we decided to just keep on walking for a minute, exactly as we were. And as you can see, this problem is not too bad anymore. He's still a little up here and there, but we worked through it for today. We'll see if that lasts the next time we get on him. I am hopeful because I would like to start working on other things besides just walking on the rail. We decided to change directions because he'd been so good in that direction. We wanted to give him a reward by walking him on the side that he prefers anyways. Because as much as I would like to work on his right side all the time, we do also have to work off the left. And you see again, no problems off the left. Pretty calm, just a little slick. Again, much more relaxed today. There was nothing going on at the farm, so he wasn't having too hard of a time. And I'm very, very, very pleased with the ride that we had today and hope that our next ride will be very similar, where we can do some more trotting and eventually I'll get to feel his canter, but we want to work into it slowly as to not build up too much of the crazy juices in his brain. We want to keep him nice and calm. I'd rather spend an extra time doing walk trot and have a nice canter for the first canter